What's up, guys? This is RBT coming at you with my college football week 9 recap video. It's really late. It's like 11:40 at night. My internet's being really slow, so I don't know when this will actually be uploaded. I'll try to upload it tonight, but it'll probably take like a few hours to upload, so I apologize about that. Because I know a bunch of you are used to me uploading this about 12 o'clock at night on Saturday night, so I apologize, but nothing I can control. The only game of relevance right now that's still going on is Oregon State and Washington. Oregon State's trailing by 3 in the third quarter right now, but hopefully they'll come back. I pulled for Mike Riley's team, and hopefully they'll get the win over Washington. It'd be really cool to see Oregon State go undefeated, beat Oregon, and go to the national championship game. But I don't think that'll happen. But that'd be cool. So I'm trying to fly through these. Iowa gets beat by Northwestern 28-17. Northwestern was pretty much in control. It was 28-3 at one time. Iowa tries to come back, but comes off about 11 points short. That quarterback for Northwestern was going off, and oh goodness, excuse me. Sorry about that, but he had a great game. Northwestern improves to 3-2 in Big Ten play. If they had got the win over the Penn State, they probably would win their division and go to the Big Ten title game. But I'm not sure if that's going to happen or not as of right now. But I mean, anything's possible in the Big Ten because it's definitely a down year in the Big Ten. Definitely with Ohio State ineligible to play for the title. Missouri beats Kentucky 33-10 against their first win ever in SEC play. Kentucky's now 1-8, absolutely terrible, 0-6 in SEC play. But the thing is, it's kind of funny. Kentucky's only win of the season's over Kent State, and that's Kent State's only loss of the season. They beat number 15 Rutgers today. So I mean, if Kentucky doesn't beat Kent State might be ranked top 25 in the country and could be possibly a BCS buster. And it's funny how that's Kentucky's only win, but Kentucky's absolutely terrible. Joker Phillips is probably going to end up getting fired. Well, he is going to get fired by the end of the season. Missouri recovers 3 fumbles to get the W, and Missouri's still trying to keep on the hopes of reaching a bowl. I'm not sure if it's going to happen. They have a tough schedule the rest of the season, but anything can happen. They have talented players on that team. Pittsburgh absolutely just destroys Temple 47-17. Temple started out Big East play 2-0, but they fell two games in a row. Ray Graham has a huge game, scores 3 touchdowns. Pitt's definitely improved ever since the first few weeks of the season. They looked like they were going to be the laughingstock of the Big East, and they lost to Youngstown State, lost to Cincinnati, and they definitely improved. And props to Paul Chris and that team for not giving up, and they might even make a bowl game now. Indiana beats Illinois 31-17, battle of the 2 worst teams in the Big Ten. This is Indiana's first Big Ten win in 11 games, so congrats to Indiana on getting their first Big Ten win. Tim Beckham's having a terrible first year as head coach of Illinois. Don't know if he'll make it out of this year, but I forget who I predicted to win this game. But it was a hard prediction. I mean, both these teams are pretty terrible, but Indiana gets the W. Indiana is improving. They're a team that in the last few years has been like a 2-win team. And props to them. I mean, they could possibly end the season and go to a bowl game. Not likely, but I mean, it's possible. Anything's possible in college football. Texas. Man, I go through like 5 water bottles a day. If I recycled for like a year straight, I'd get about $100. Maybe I should do that. Anyways, Texas avoids a scare against Texas avoids a scare against Kansas. Wins 21-17. They got so lucky. If they lose this game, Mac Brown is in just he'll been this close to losing his job if he didn't lose it at the conclusion of the game, because Kansas is a team who's not won a Big 12 game in about 15 games, I think, and they were this close to losing. They were down by 3 points, and with about a minute left, and first play when they get the ball hits the Kansas linebacker right in the hands, and if he intercepts the ball, the game's over easily. They have to take a knee, and he drops it. And then it ends up being 4th and like 18. They end up converting on a long pass up over the middle, and like the next play they scores, and they get the W. And Texas remains the worst team with the most talent in football. They might even drop out the top 25. They should. You shouldn't be almost losing to a team like Kansas. Kansas is even playing with their third string quarterback. Their first string quarterback is Dane Chris, and their second string quarterback Jake Heaps is ineligible this year after transferring from BYU. So the third string quarterback is Michael Cummings, who's a freshman who's only like 5'11", 5'10", and they didn't even throw the ball. They threw the ball 7 times this game and ran in about 50. So that just shows you Texas is just a terribly coached team, most talent in America by far, and they still yet almost lose to a team like Kansas, who's just not nowhere on par with the talent of Texas. But that's enough for that game. South Carolina wins this game 38-35. Connor Shaw, great game. He's definitely been one of the most efficient and surprising quarterbacks in the SEC this year. But the big story in this game, Marcus Lattimore is injured. His career might be over. I'm hoping he's not. But, I mean, it really makes you emotional if you're a big college football fan watching this guy get injured again. I mean, it just sucks so bad to get injured and to tear your ACL. And it happened to him last year, and then he's out for the whole season, all off-season rehab, and takes him a year to rehab, and he finally gets healthy enough to play, and 9 games into the season, an even worse injury happens. That was a terrible injury. I was even thinking about making a video about when that happened, but I was scared if I'd have made a video, people would be thinking I'm just trying to, people, when I make videos about events that happen, people kind of get testy with me, and I didn't want that to happen, but I was just going to talk about the injury. But anyways, it was a terrible injury. I feel for the man. My prayers are for him and his family. It was definitely an emotional scene watching both teams go out there and greeting them and wishing them well. Both teams were emotional. Both teams had guys crying for them, and I'm sure there's a bunch of people across America crying as they saw him go down. And my hopes are with him. I hope it's not as bad as it looked, even though, I mean, it's definitely going to be a bad injury. His knee was completely sideways. Who knows what all it's going to be? Could be torn ACL, broken kneecap, broken leg. It looked terrible. But my prayers are with him, and I hope everything will be okay. And hopefully he'll be back next year. And he needs to get an NFL paycheck because he definitely deserves one. Ole Miss beats Arkansas 30-27. Hugh Freeze's team is now 500 in SEC play, now on 2-2, and Arkansas falls two games under 500. Are now kind of losing their chance to go to a bowl game this year, which they might still can, but with the rest of their schedule looking kind of tough, they might not. Ole Miss kicked a field goal as time expires to win this game. Ole Miss had a huge second quarter, scored 21 points. Arkansas had to come back in the fourth quarter, but it doesn't matter as Ole Miss kicks the game-winning field goal. So Ole Miss is a dangerous team. They definitely can put up a fight, but I thought they were going to beat Arkansas. They beat Arkansas, so that's that. They're a game away from being bowl eligible. I mean, it's crazy how a year can be different from the one before. Ole Miss, terrible last year, get a new head coach in Hugh Freeze, and look where they are now. A dangerous team who probably could upset any team any day of the week. North Carolina beats North Carolina State 43-35. 18-point fourth quarter for North Carolina. Huge comeback victory by the Tar Heels over in-state rival North Carolina State. I didn't get to watch this game, but I did hear that Giovanni Bernard, who's an excellent running back, probably the most underrated running back in the country, the best running back you've never heard of if you're just a casual fan. If you're a diehard fan, you probably know who this guy is, but he's definitely an underrated running back. Heard that he had one of the most insane punt returns that you can ever see, and I've not been able to see that yet, but as soon as I upload these videos or in the morning, I'm going to watch that, and if you haven't, go ahead and go watch that. And comment below if you see that and tell me how crazy it was. North Carolina wins 43-35. if they weren't ineligible for postseason play this year, they'd be able to go to a bowl game now with 6 wins on the season already. Boston College beats Maryland 20-17. Boston College gets their first ACC win of the season. Maryland seems like they're on their 8th string quarterback. Just about every quarterback they put in gets hurt. And any point they get from Maryland is valuable and precious, because with the injuries they've had, they'll take anything they can get. UCLA edges out Arizona State by 2 points, 45-43. UCLA gets a field goal as time expires to win this game. They hold off Arizona State as they score 17 points in the 4th quarter. And Jim Moore Jr.'s team is now bowl eligible at 6-2. BYU beats Georgia Tech 41-17. I expected this. Told you guys BYU's defense is legitimate. And when you have a legitimate defense playing against a triple option attack, you're going to score a lot of points. So BYU's now 5-4 in the season. Still think they have a great defense. Say this all the time. And BYU's a dangerous team. They should be a ranked team even though they have 4 losses. All 4 losses are against great teams, really close games. So BYU is definitely a dangerous team. And they get the W 41-17. Oregon could have scored 500 today against Colorado. Best offense in the country, probably against the worst defense in the country. Definitely the worst defense in the Pac-12, probably even in the country. They had 56 points at halftime, only scored 14 in the 3rd quarter, and probably had their 18th string players in the 4th quarter. But they won 70-14. Oregon, I think, is the 2nd best team in the country. It's so hard. I mean, all the 3 teams are absolutely amazing. Kansas State, Oregon, Notre Dame, they all are great teams. All have different aspects of their team that makes them great. Kansas State has a bunch of great wins. Absolutely beat up insane. Oh, they had a great win today over number 14 team in the country. Beat them by 30 points. Notre Dame's had a bunch of tough games. Went into number 8 Oklahoma's house today and beat them by 17 points. And you got Oregon, who beats everybody they play, which there's some of them have been pretty quality opponents. Some have been not so much. And they have the tougher part of their schedule coming up in the next month. They have USC coming up next week. But they beat everybody they play by 50 points, and it seems like they could score 100. They always let off in the second half. But if I had to choose based on just on the field play, I would say Oregon. I mean, no disrespect to Kansas State or Notre Dame. I mean, Oregon, I'm not sure if it's actually going to make it, but if I had to choose, I would say Oregon. They just look absolutely dominant with whoever they play. They can score at will, and I just think they're the 2nd best team in the country. No disrespect to the other 2 teams. And probably the biggest upset of the day that I can think of right now, I might prove myself wrong. Arizona beats USC 39-36. Matt Scott has a huge game. Have to hold off USC late. Last drive, USC's trying to come back and score a touchdown. Marquise Lee came this close to catching that last Hail Mary, but he didn't. And he had an absolute insane game. Marquise Lee had like 16 catches for about 343 yards. And I think it was about 3 touchdowns, might be wrong, but that's the 5th most receiving yards in a game in NCAA history, and it's a Pac-12 record. So kudos to him, but I mean, it doesn't matter because Arizona gets the win. USC was creeping back up to the top of the BCS polls, and some people were even saying if everybody got a loss, that USC might be in there the national championship game. But now those hopes are absolutely just shattered. Holiday Bowl, it seems like Matt Barkley's decision to come back. That's what it's gonna give to him is a Holiday Bowl appearance. It seems like, but Arizona wins 39-36. I saw him on game day talking about this game being dangerous. Didn't really think so. Thought USC was gonna win a close game, but on the flip side of that, it makes Arizona 5-3. 2nd win in the Pac-12. Rich Rod gets his first real relevant win of his career. Did beat Oklahoma State early on in the season by about 20-something points, but I'm pretty sure he would tell you that this is the sweetest win as an Arizona Wildcat so far. Florida State beats Duke 48-7. Thought this game was going to be a lot closer than it was, but I mean, if you're a Duke fan, you're still happy because this is the first time you're bowl eligible in 20 years, probably more than that. But Florida State now 8-1 with all the losses that's been had today. I mean, Florida State might be creeping back up there. They might even be in the top 10 by the polls coming out next week. So, yep, taking advantage of that easy ACC schedule. Georgia gets the win over number 2 Florida, and Georgia's taking advantage of that easy schedule as well. They're really lucky never having to play a team like LSU or Alabama. That'll change in probably next year, but in recent years they've got on the lucky side of that they took advantage of that last year, and that which brought them to the SEC championship game. And this year they get a win over Florida, so they control their destiny. You got to play Ole Miss and Auburn next 2 weeks, and if they win those games, they're in the championship game. So they get the win. I mean, the defensive struggle. They forced 6 turnovers. Aaron Murray threw 3 interceptions, but they got lucky when they needed it. Florida trying to tie the game up late, and the guy's walking into the end zone and he gets the ball knocked out of his hands. And Georgia recovered in the end zone and took a knee and won the game. Right before half, Jeff Driscoll in field goal range. If they kick a field goal, they take the lead right before half, and he throws an interception in like triple coverage. So it's just stupid mistakes that Florida made. Stupid mistakes is what's the difference in between the number 2 team in the country and losing to the number 10 team in the country. That's the difference. And they have a great defense, don't get me wrong. You're not going to win many games when you turn the ball over 6 times. Minnesota beat Purdue 44-28. This is a shocker. I thought Purdue's definitely been the most disappointing team in the Big Ten by far. Thought they had a great chance to win that division with the talent they had, but the defense is just terrible. Offense isn't as bad, but giving up 44 points to Minnesota is unacceptable. I mean, look at Minnesota. They're 1 win away from being bowl eligible, so I'm not taking anything away from Minnesota. 1 win away from being bowl eligible, so congrats to the Gophers, and good thing that the coach didn't have a seizure this week. That's crazy. I've never heard of a coach having seizures in a game 2 years in a row. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. Talking about upsets, Kent State, like I said, I think I said this earlier, beat Rutgers today, 35-23. I know some of you have heard me mention about Rutgers. If Rutgers and Louisville both went undefeated to the very last week of the season, that puts up a potential matchup of 2 top 10 Big East teams going at it, and maybe the winner having somewhat of a chance getting ranked kind of high in the BCS poll. But with that, hopes of that's completely lost. I mean, they're going to be out of the top 25 now. You can't lose to Kent State. I mean, like I said earlier, if Kent State wouldn't have lost to Kentucky, they might be ranked really high now. And this could have been a rank between. This could have been an undefeated matchup of 2 teams in the top 25. So I think Kent State, has 2 really, really good running backs. Actually, one guy's like 245, the other's a shorter running back. But they're 2 really good running backs. So looking back on this game, it doesn't really surprise me that Kent State beat Rutgers, because Rutgers' offense is not great. They take advantage of a great defense that they have, but that only can get you so far without having a great offense. So Kent State gets the W, improved to 7-1 on the season. A big win, a big upset, probably one of their biggest wins in program history over number 15 Rutgers. But all the chances of that undefeated Big East matchup last week of the season is completely gone, thanks to Rutgers losing to Kent State. So Kent State gets the win 35-23. Ohio goes down for the first loss of the season. Loses to Miami, Ohio 23-20. If Ohio won this game and kept winning, they might have had a chance to make a BCS bowl, but that's gone. They're not no chance of making the BCS bowl now. Oklahoma State, one of my proudest picks last week, wins over TCU 36-14. TCU came out to a 14-0 lead in the first quarter, but were outscored 36-0 ever since they got that 14-0 lead. Wes Lunt had to come in this game and was really effective. And Oklahoma State's now 5-2. TCU can only go so far with the freshman backup quarterback. And I mean, I feel for TCU. TCU, this is their first year in the Big 12. They were looking like a pretty good team. Top 3 team, top 4 possibly in the Big 12. But I mean, when you're really good, starting quarterback is out for the rest of the season, being suspended. That's not gonna do any great or do any good for your program. So tough luck for them. But I mean, you gotta build around the guys you got. So you can't mourn on that loss forever. So Oklahoma State now 5-2 in the Big 12. Michigan State beats Wisconsin in overtime 16-13, and now that division in the Big Ten is completely up in the air because Wisconsin now has 2 losses in the Big Ten. Michigan State, they're still a solid program, still a great defense, but they're not going to go that far because their offense is terrible. Aside from Le'Veon Bell, they just have no other threats. Had to make a comeback in the fourth quarter. Had to score a little touchdown and hold Wisconsin to a field goal in the fourth quarter, but scored a touchdown late in overtime and got the victory 16-13. Man, I'm getting so tired. Sorry, guys. I keep getting so thirsty. I'm just gonna keep going on. I don't care how long this video goes, because I got a video upload which is gonna take a while. I don't know why it's taking so long, but I'm not trying to rush myself here. No need to. Kansas State beats Texas Tech 55-24. A huge win by Kansas State, not only because it's the 14th team in the country, and not only because they're in a race for the national championship, but they beat the number 14 team in the country by 31 points. And this isn't just the number 14 team in the country. This is a Tommy Tuberville team who he's 6-2, I think. I might be wrong on that stat. Something like 6-2 against top 5 teams all time, and that's not a fluke. I mean, maybe once or twice can be a fluke, but 6-2, that's too much of evidence showing me that that's a fluke. He can coach in big games, and when you beat a team with a coach like that by 31 points, that shows you that you're a pretty good program. I mean, Kansas State. No disrespect to my Alabama team, but they definitely are one of the better coached teams in the country. I mean, if you put Kansas State and Alabama on the field right now, definitely heads and shoulders Alabama has more talent. Kansas State is, how can I put this? Kansas State is not a top 25 team in the country based on talent alone. But they are coached to the point where they don't make turnovers. They're fundamentally sound. Just about every single one of their players on their team has leadership qualities. They're just fundamentally sound. They don't make mistakes. They're not the biggest players. They're not the fastest. They're slow, but they don't make mistakes. They execute when they have to. They do their job, and if everybody does their job effectively, you're gonna be a good team, and that doesn't hurt to have a guy like Colin Klein playing quarterback. I mean, the guy is like a hybrid of Tim Tebow and Todd Reesing, a little bit bigger than Todd Reesing. But anyways, enough on that. Kansas State wins 55-24, and they're gonna move up probably to number 2. It's gonna be interesting to see how the 2 through 5 in the BCS poll end up, because I think it'll end up being, I think Notre Dame with a win over Oklahoma in Oklahoma or in Norman will jump Oregon, even though Oregon won by 56 points. But anyways, moving on. Ohio State beats Penn State 35-23. I expected this. Ohio State, now 9-0, they'd probably be the number 5 team in the country if they were bowl eligible. But it sucks for them. Sucks to suck. But they win 35-23. Braxton Miller accounts for 3 touchdowns. Big game. I knew Ohio State was gonna beat Penn State. Penn State. Motivation can only bring you so far, and I've been wrong on Penn State a lot this year. I think this is my second pick of the year that I got right for Penn State. I think I've been wrong 7 of the weeks, and I have had this one guy, Andrew Kahn, been on my butt about that all year. But Got this one right, so we can't say anything about that. So Penn State still has a good team. It'll get worse as the years go on until they're off of the 65 scholarship limit. But Ohio State wins 35-23. It is what it is. Stanford avoids an upset against Washington State, wins 24-17. Washington State gave them all they can handle. It was tied at halftime 10-10, but Stanford pulls out the victory. 24-17 now 6-2, and they might start creeping up a little bit higher in those BCS standings. Now 17 in the country, will probably be about 14 next week. So kudos to Stanford. Washington State played them tough, old Mike Leach, but came up short. Oh, good God. Texas A&M beats Auburn 63-21. Johnny Manziel, I knew he was going to have a huge game against that Auburn defense. I'm not really even sure if Gene Chick's going to get fired. I know if you're from Alabama and you get on Facebook at least once during an Auburn game, you need to see how many people talk about Gene Chizik should be fired. Because if it was up to the fans, I think he'd be gone. He would have been gone the 4th week of the season. But it's really unexcusable, whoever you are as a head coach and as a program, to give up 63 points. Nonetheless in the SEC, and that's just inexcusable. If you're giving up 63 points, you better be scoring over 50 if you're in the SEC, because that ain't gonna cut it. Auburn's now 1-7, not a win in the SEC just yet, and it doesn't look like it's gonna get any better. But anyways, Texas A&M won 63-21. That Johnny Manziel is one special quarterback. By the time he's out of college, he's gonna win the Heisman. You can stamp that down, write it down, and a permanent marker on your hand. Get it tattooed on your forehead, because it's going to happen. Johnny Manziel is going to win the Heisman by the time he's out of college. Man, I got to speed this up. I'm taking this way too slow. I'm already on my 3rd water bottle, man. I've learned just to take it slow and just live life. Just live life. Syracuse beats my buddy's team, South Florida, 37-36. Syracuse scores a touchdown with 3 seconds left to complete a fourth quarter rally to win in Tampa, 37-36. Kind of sucks for my buddies. I thought South Florida was going to win the Big East this year. Definitely has proved me completely wrong. Don't know what's going wrong down there in Tampa, but they're now 0-4 in the Big East. Go from having a pretty good season last year, now they're 2-6 overall. And that's not normal South Florida football. They're usually a pretty good team. It's definitely not the case this year. Iowa State gets an unexpected win, which was against my prediction, and beats Baylor by 2 touchdowns, 35-21. I thought Iowa State was kind of coming down to earth, but they get the win 35-21. It says Jantz has a career day. Don't know too much about this game other than the final score, but anyways, Iowa State's now 5-3. Baylor now 3-4, now 0-4 in the Big 12. It's kind of crazy how Baylor goes from RG3 last year being the surprise team to being winless in the Big 12. So that just shows you how great of a player RG3 was. It's this list of games ever going to end, man. Oh, South Alabama, my local college, always talk about them. They played Louisiana Monroe, really tough, but they end up losing 38-24. South Alabama, one of the newest members in the FBS Division I football, but 2 wins in the season doesn't look like they're gonna get any better. It's tough to be a newbie in the NCAA, but they're in the talent pool down here in South Alabama. They can get some guys from Mississippi, get a few guys around here in the Mobile area, get some guys from the Pensacola area. Maybe they can have a pretty decent team in years to come. And Michigan gets beat by Nebraska 23-9, but the final score, it wouldn't have been that much of a big of a margin, but Denard Robinson left the game in the second quarter, was injured. This might have been a completely different game, so don't let this really fool you. I mean, don't get me wrong, Nebraska still might have won if Denard Robinson doesn't get hurt, but Don't look too much into this game, because I mean, you all know how effective Denard Robinson can be, but don't take anything away from Nebraska. They'll probably be ranked now, so they still have a chance to go to the Big 12 or Big 10 title game. So kudos to Nebraska for winning in Lincoln. 2 more games to go over, and I'm gonna go to sleep after this. This is 30 minutes. Good God, definitely my longest recap. And you know what? I really don't care because my internet's being retarded. And for some reason, I'm thirsty as a freaking tomato. Okay, Notre Dame beats Oklahoma 30-13. Scored 20 points in the fourth quarter and avoid a late rally by Oklahoma. Oklahoma tied the game up 13-13, and Everett Golson comes right back, strikes down the field with like a 40-yard pass, and scores on a 3rd and goal on the quarterback draw. The defense came up big. Told you guys Notre Dame's defense is for real. I think this is pretty much the concluding game to any doubts of Notre Dame being out there. Oklahoma. Everybody was thinking Oklahoma was going to just absolutely destroy Notre Dame, especially with the game being in Norman, but you see that was definitely proved wrong today. Notre Dame wins by 17, even though it probably should have been 23-13. I don't think Notre Dame really had any business scoring that last touchdown. They could have just needed the ball. The game would have been over, but still a 10-point victory in Norman over Oklahoma, which is a pretty good team and definitely has came off strong ever since that Kansas State loss. Definitely is an impressive win over Oklahoma. I mean, the biggest test for Notre Dame, I've heard a bunch of people talking about it, is their mentality going into the next 3 games. They got to play Pitt, then Boston College, and Wake Forest, I believe. And I mean, their only really game with a team with the same talent pool as them as USC, which I think is a winnable game for them. But I mean, the last few weeks and this whole season, really as a whole, every single game that Notre Dame goes into, they have some doubters. They have some people that's like, oh, they're gonna lose this game. They're not for real. I'm not sold on Notre Dame just yet. This team has this weapon that's gonna beat on this team. Has this that's gonna expose this Notre Dame. And that's what it's been every week. But now, when you beat Oklahoma by the way they did and the way they dominated, and with it being in Norman, all those questions are not going to be there anymore, and they probably weren't going to be there against a team like Pitt and Wake Forest and Boston College. Just the perception of the program is going to be completely different for the next 3 games. Different questions are going to be asked, and it's just going to be a different way of handling things for the Fighting Irish players. So it's going to be interesting to see how they handle it, but I think they'll be all right. I mean, they might struggle in these next 3 games, but I think they win each one of them. And I mean, it's going to be really interesting to watch what happens. I think it's really possible that all 4 of the top 4 teams that are going to be in the poll next week end up being undefeated. So that'd be fun to watch, but we'll see what happens. It's going to be a show. Is there a few more games? Alabama beats Mississippi State 38-7. Complete domination. Special teams played great. AJ McCarron had a pretty big game. Kind of struggled in the second half, but he had a big first half still. Getting this close to throwing his first interception, but he's still interceptionless on the season. It's over, I think, 360 pass attempts, 260, 360 pass attempts without throwing an interception. Either one's really impressive, but we win this game 38-7. Pretty much move the ball at will, with the exception of a few drives early on in the third quarter. Don't know what happened to us. Ever at the second quarter, after our first touchdown in the second quarter, through the midway through the 3rd quarter, we couldn't move the ball at all. But aside from that, we pretty much moved the ball at will. We dominated their defense. We dominated their offense. Our defense played great. When Mississippi State would have a huge play, we'd answer with the turnover on defense. When they'd have a big return on special teams, we'd make them fumble. So big game by our special teams, big game by our offense, big game by our defense. And really should have been a shutout, but they scored to get a touchdown with like 2 minutes left. Given up by like our second and third stringers. So Alabama wins 38-7, complete domination. Got to get ready for LSU next week, and you guys will see my video for that coming up Tuesday afternoon. Goodness, this video is gonna be about 40 minutes. It's 35 minutes now. This is definitely my longest upload ever. I don't know what it is. My mouth is just dry. It's my mouth's fault this video is taking so long. Clemson beats Wake Forest 42-13. I don't think this is really expected. I thought Wake Forest would put up more of a fight, but Sammy Watkins had his breakout game this game. I think he ended up with 177 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns. This game was played on Thursday, so I can't remember, but I just know he had a big game, and Clemson rolls with a victory 42-13. And last but not least, the old Louisville Cardinal, the youngest team, best team, the best youngest team in the country, escapes at home against Cincinnati in overtime with a win 34-31. Teddy Bridgewater and the Cardinals were trailing by 14 at the start of the fourth quarter, and they came back and won in overtime. So they're still undefeated. Possibly will creep into the top 10 in the next few weeks, but we'll see about that. So that has been my week 9 recap video. Sorry it went about 37 minutes. Can't help that I had to talk too much, and can't help that my mouth was being weird and getting dry too easy. But it's hard to talk for 36 minutes straight, 37 minutes straight, whatever. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Not sure too many people will actually watch this whole video, but if you did, thanks. Let me know what you thought of this week in the comments below. Let me know the games that stood out to you, and yeah, be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, so you never miss one of my uploads, because I know you don't want to miss my uploads. So I'll see you guys next week. I'll see you guys tomorrow if you want to see my Titans video and NFL videos, and I hope you'll stay along and watch my videos throughout the week. But if you don't, whatever. So I'll see you guys later. Subscribe if you haven't. Have a great night, and have a great day if you're watching this in the morning. And as always, roll tide, go Sox, and go Titans to you. Have a great night.